what I want to add now is I'm just going to build out here in space a curtain wall so that it's super clear and you can see all the different ways you can modify them. And then I'll show you how to, like, you can embed a curtain wall into an existing wall, or you can change an existing wall into a curtain wall. So to get started with that, you can go to wall, and you can draw these, like now I'm doing it in a 3D view, and you can change this from a standard wall, and you can use curtain wall, or you could just draw a wall like this, and then once you've drawn that, you can grab that wall and change that into just a curtain wall. But this will make it a giant sheet of glass. So if I move this guy around, you'll see that's just all that is. It's a big sheet of glass. So this is really helpful because if you're trying to do a big curtain wall, or if you're trying to do like a intricate kind of L-shaped wall or any sort of shape, we can do that with the curtain wall. And a lot of systems, like whether it's like a metal panel, or I've seen even different sort of like door systems, they'll make them out of a curtain wall. So even though it's not a real curtain wall in real life, the way you model in Revit is more closely related to that kind of system, so they make the family work as a curtain wall. So the basics here, these are just like any other wall. So if you change these, you're going to be changing the height and like what level it's bound to. So is everyone pretty comfortable with walls and adjusting the heights of them and stuff like that? So up to now, we've only looked at walls that are a traditional like wall, like a straight perpendicular wall, and it's just square. Like, so it's like from here to here, like the profile is like a rectangle. We'll look at in a minute how you can do like a custom shaped wall. Let's say you wanted a wall that wasn't just a wall, it was like angled on the top, or a wall that had like a notch missing. Like, I'll show you how to do that, because right now if you change it to a wall, it just becomes like a full height wall, and it doesn't have to be that way. So we've got this guy. That's like the main settings, and if you remember, this is where you change the individual wall. This is where you would change the type. So unless you're trying to make a new type, don't change these settings because it's going to affect all of them. So once you have the curtain wall, you're going to want to go into the curtain grid. This is where you start to subdivide this into the different components that you want to do. So if this is like a curtain wall system, you can look at what kind of type of module you want, or what's the largest available glass that you can get, and if it's 4x8 or 4x10 or 20 by whatever, or if you wanted to do a smaller grid, you can do that. So you can move the mouse along the horizontal, so either the top horizontal or the bottom horizontal, and that's how you add a vertical grid line. And you always have to create the grids first, and then we can go in and modify them. And then right now, if you notice, I'm adding an entire segment, so it's going to make the whole vertical here. And let me move this out into space, or let's just do a so here's kind of a cool thing you can do. If you select an object and then you click this button here under view, you're going to create a scope box, and you're going to basically isolate that on its own. So I haven't really deleted anything, but if you look here, if you unselect everything and then come down here, you'll see that scope box, where's it at? Section box has been checked off, and you can see this little section box. If I move that back that way, you'll see I can like see parts of my building. If I uncheck that, I come back down, oops, it will bring up your whole building, or you can crop it. Or if you have something selected and you create there, boom. So now it's a little easier to see kind of what we're working on. So these ones are entire grid lines, so they go all the way up. You can, once you've placed them, you can then modify them, or if you want, if you go under the build tool, you can do one segment, or all except picked, so you can like grab one and adjust it. So if I just do one segment and I come here, notice how there along the horizontal right now, if I'm placing a vertical line, one segment is the entire height because there's nothing there to break it up. But if you go on the vertical, you can see I can place just on there. I don't have to place all the way across. And this even has some standard kind of snap points, like 1/3 of the panel, or to like the 2/3 of the panel. or center point of the panel. So you can go in here and start breaking this up either by clean dimension or something else. So let's just say like every 4 feet we wanted to do that. That's pretty good. 4, 4, 4. And let's say here you wanted to stagger it, so not 4, but we could do 2, 2, 2. So then it's the same kind of module, but here it's broken up. And now that you have that, you can come in here and place one in between instead of placing the whole grid line. So that's just another way that you can do it. If you do all except picked, you can go all the way across and then unselect like pieces of it. So depending on what type of layout you're trying to do, you can do that. Or you can add more. So let's just do 1 segments here. Let me just finish this out with force. I don't remember how long I made that, but alright, doesn't want to go to 4. You can always just click and then grab that dimension. So now that we got this, we can look at that guy and start doing adding things to this. So if I wanted to grab that grid line, first of all, doing that, all that's doing is picking that entire grid line. But notice it's grayed out. So even though you have a line there, it really only divides the panel right there. So see where you have like the solid line? The dashed line will go all the way across. And once you've selected one of these lines, if you click this guy, it lets you add a segment wherever you click. So you don't have to draw them always at the beginning exactly correct. You can always go back and modify it, and then I can click this one and do the same thing. I go boom, boom. Or I could take that one out if there's one existing. Basically, if there's one there and you click it, it will go away. And if there's not, it'll add it in that segment. So all I'm doing is selecting a grid line, and then you click add remove segments, and then you can go boom, boom. And then depending what kind of shape you're trying to get, you can do that. So now we have this kind of layout. There's a couple of things you can do. If you just click on a grid line, you'll get the grid line. If you click on like the edge, you get the kernel wall. Notice how over here this is always going to show you what you have selected. If you can, it's really hard to do it by just manually clicking just directly onto it, but you can select the panel itself instead of the entire thing. So if you use the tab key, so here I'm hitting tab, so you keep your mouse there and you hit tab, eventually you'll get just that panel. I just moved it off. And then with just the panel, notice here it doesn't say curtain wall, it says system panel, and right now it's glazed. So we could change that to be something else. You can do, it looks like here you can do like a retaining wall, or you can make it just like a standard wall if you wanted. So we can have like an existing wall within there. So sometimes you'll see like a door family is not going to want to go into a curtain wall, but there's like a trick where if you make a panel the exact dimension of the door and then you grab that panel and make it a normal wall, it will let you host a standard door in there. And then that panel, it will look like a door because instead of showing you the thickness of or the wall, the door is exactly the same size. So it basically looks like there is no wall there, it's just a door in the curtain wall. But there are curtain wall doors that you can do. You have to do it like that. You select the panel and then you change it to a door. So you can also delete panels this way. If you can get to the individual panel, you pick it and then you can delete it out. So I'm gonna take that panel back. Oops, I got the view there. So I'm gonna leave that as the glazed. Just leave it like that. So now we should have, I think I made that its own thing. So let's undo, there you go. So if I wanted to add mullions here, you go mullion. So once you've got the, first you create the glazing then you add the joints, and then you add the mullions. So the mullions, just like the other stuff we've been looking at, there's different families, and you can load more or you can make your own. And that's something we'll look at a little bit later, is how to make your own families, like so you can model, like if you wanted a family that looked exactly like this table, I'll show you how to go in there and model this table, and then it becomes a family that you can drop in. And some families you can make them like adjustable, so like you can, once it's dropped in, you can make like a little grip on the side, so like a countertop. You'll look at once we do that, you can put a countertop in there and just grab the little, like it's like a little arrow, and you just drag it, and then it'll resize it, so it's like a smart family, and then it will give you a spot where instead of making it a fixed dimension, it becomes a parameter, and you can keep changing it. So you can use trapezoid mullions or a V or just a standard mullion. There's a bunch of them up here if you go up. So let's just try 1.5 inch mullion, so a smaller one. So once you have that selected, if you just click like that, you're going to be just adding them. You can also do just by grid segment. So if I just click there, now it's only going to put it in that one segment instead of like the whole line. Or you can click all grid lines and you just click once and it's going to put one everywhere. So once you've got this created, you can go in and then you can try and grab the mullion, and then here you can, if you zoom in, see how that mullion and this mullion are different. You can use this tool here to make it continuous. I think you need to grab, so sometimes Revit will cut the mullion, and we don't have any that go straight across, do we? No, I broke all of them. But you can make it, instead of stopping the horizontal with a vertical, you can make it go across, and then the other one can get broken, or you can make it look like they all join together. So that's how you adjust those settings. You can also grab a mullion, and if you right click, you get a bunch of mullion selection like shortcuts. So if you click on grid line, it will grab all the mullions that are there, and then if you try and delete them, it'll let you. If you go here and we right click, you say select mullions across grid line, it will look perpendicular to that grid line and grab like up and down. And then you can also do on vertical grid, so it grabs all the vertical ones or all the horizontal ones, and vice versa. So that's like an easy way, especially because mullions are really annoying, especially once you get a lot of them. There's a really useful thing where, let's say you're working on something and you know that, okay, now this is done, I don't want it to ever move or change. You can grab this and use this little like oh, where did it go away? So you can pin. So now once I've pinned, so I click that button right there, pin, you'll notice that when you select this, I can still individually select items in here, but it's not going to let me modify them because I've pinned it. So once you unpin, I unpinned it by clicking there. Once you unpin it, it lets you adjust it. And what's nice is if you have like 100 things pinned, up here you have the unpin as like a shortcut. So you can pick like a bunch of stuff that's all pinned, and if it was pinned, you'd have this item, and you can unpin it. So I see a lot of times when people make that, they get stuck trying to like go one by one and they're pinning all these mullions, where you don't really have to. But for example, if I wanted to make all the horizontals deeper for like a shading device, you could pick one of them and you go select mullions on horizontal grid. And I grabbed all of those, and then we can change the type here to 2.5 by 5 or something like that, or a deeper one. Or if we wanted to make a custom one, you can do that too. So then you can see that those are bigger than the other ones and they're sticking out more. So if you wanted to do a curved kernel wall, you can do that too. You can just make a wall. So let's go to like a plan view. and then wall, and instead of drawing with the straight line tool, you have all these tools you can also use to draw a wall. So we can grab here any of these, and then you can draw the arc, something like that. Let me go to that guy. And even though it's on a radius, it will still work, because you can then make that a kernel wall. Oops. Oh, once you've made it a kernel wall, even though it's curved, right now I only have one panel. So notice how it just straightened out my wall. Don't worry when that happens. What you need to do is start adding segments to it. So notice how before I made it a kernel wall, it followed that curve perfectly. So if I do like a normal wall, and then let me just change this to like shaded so that you have a little bit more detail in it. As soon as I click that and tell it, no, you're not a normal wall, you're a kernel wall now. So this is where it's like a key difference between the standard wall and the kernel wall. The kernel wall has to have straight segments because it knows it's made out of glass. So once we've done that, you can go in here, curtain grid, and along the top, notice how I'm moving my mouse here, but look where the grid line's actually appearing. It's on the curve. So it's going to give you by degrees. This is where I was telling you it's a little different when it's curved, because rather than seeing a linear dimension, you're seeing an angular dimension. So it's instead, so you would have to figure out what that math is. So is it every 5 degrees I need a mullion, or is it every, so if you really want only 4 feet, you have to figure it out that way, at least at first. Then you can go in there and measure what you actually got. So if I want to do every 15, so you notice as soon as I put one in, it goes in there. I can do 115, 15. And if you add one in between, it will subdivide that one. And that's going to follow that. So you actually move it there, and it gives you that guy. So it's a little different, but then once you've got that, it's going to operate the same exact way as the standard kernel wall. You can add your other ones. If we go this way, 4 feet, 4 feet, and then you add your mullions the same exact way. So that's that. And then if I wanted to now move that curtain wall, let's say this one, which we have like over here somewhere. Where is it? There. So this is my curtain wall that I have. Oh, it's not there. What floor are you on? Up to level 1, it's on ground. So this is ground. So I should see it here. My curtain wall's on. Let me just turn this off so that you guys can see. For some reason, I'm not seeing that wall. Do I have that 3D view? Oh, I pinned it. So now let's get rid of this. There. So now I have that guy. If I wanted to move this and place it like in that wall, we can do that. And then if you zoom in, once you start to get it like aligned with another wall here. So as I try and place this into that wall, Revit will give me an error. So it's saying that highlighted walls overlap, one may be ignored. Revit finds room boundaries, use cut geometry to embed ones or not. So you can get rid of that. It's just giving you a warning, didn't say anything didn't work. So let me make this look more standard. So I'll show you how to adjust these. I don't think I accepted it when I changed it before. So here you can see, let's just put that down. Here's my current wall. And then here's this big wall, which is something else. Brick on CMU. And then if I make this a little bit smaller, you can see kind of what's going on here. So if I wanted to shrink that wall so that it fit within this wall as like a piece of that wall, I can do that here. Let's just grab that wall. Let's see, can you just pull it in? It says can't create kernel wall mullion. So what it's telling me is everything that's highlighted here no longer fits within that element that I had created because my kernel wall was a lot bigger. So when you see that, you can either hit cancel or you can hit delete. So if you're okay with losing them, you can hit delete. And then now I can move this into here. And then once you get it into the center of that guy, see, it's saying that they overlap and it's disappeared here. So you can't see it because now both walls are existing in the same space. So what you have to do is cut the kernel wall out of the main wall. So in order to do that, if you look up here at your tools, you have a cut tool. So you can use cut and pick this wall and then that wall and see what it's done here. It's not gotten rid of either wall, it's just adjusted this wall to go around that wall in that space. So now both walls exist in the same spot like they would in a real building, but now they have it like that. So then here you can then move this. Let's say I wanted to align like that to the front edge. You might have to unpin this guy. Well, let me move it off the center line. Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't like when you try and move a kernel wall. That's not really letting me scoot that guy over, but that's close enough. So then we've got that guy in there. You can look at that, see how that looks. We've got the column inside. So any questions on that? This guy, I don't need him anymore. That was just to show you. So that's kernel walls pretty much. If you need to put a door in there, you grab that individual panel and then you transfer that into a door. So I can show you how to do that. You'll want to load in a family. So right now by default we don't have any or other sort of little families, so you can go to insert, load family, and if you go under kernel wall panels, these are all the different types of things you can make. So you have solid panel, glazed panel, empty panel. You can also like make one that's like a spandrel panel, so it's not transparent but it's like solid in the back. And then you can, so when you have it going in front of like your floor slab or something, you could have it be solid and it still maintains its glass. And then let me go back. Where I wanted to go is doors. And then there is a kernel wall single glass door or double storefront or however you want to look at it. So we can load that door into the project and then we can tab over to that. And then here you should be able to, now it exists. See, there's a family here under the kernel wall because I've loaded it in. So I can transfer that into this. And if you look here, nothing really changes, but in the plan view you can see that that is a door now. And we have a door in front of our column. But as far as what it actually looks like, it's not much different. So what you would then want to do is go in here, and since that is a door, you want to tab over to that mullion. If it was pinned, you unpin it, and then you can just get rid of that mullion, and then you have a door. So it has like a little handle. Oops. And now you got a door there. And it's going to be notice how it didn't ask me what size door do I want. It's just going to make the panel that size. So if I move this, it's going to adjust the door to be the size of that panel. So if you know it needs to be a 3-foot door, you got to make those grid lines 3 feet apart. And if you want to see like how that changes, we can grab that grid line here, 3. Notice the door just shrunk. Or we could make this like 12, like 1, and then you can grab this one and make this 3, and then we can scoot our door out from under there. And how high is this? $10 feet, so let's make that an 8-foot door. And then you can say okay, and then you can add a mullion here. Mullion, only grid line segment, and then we can go here. Or alternatively, you can select that one and type in create similar, or you hit that guy and then you pick there, and it will match what the other ones are. And here you go. So see how it's doing that, it's breaking them across? It's because this one is thinner than these two, so you can see there's a difference there. And if I wanted that not to read like that, like a notch in it, you can grab here, get out of there, here, and then you hold control. I didn't get it. There. Control with that one. Oops. Trying to get both of these. There. So see, I have all 3, and once you hit this, make continuous, watch the little gap, it will just fill it in, and it cuts the other one instead of that one. So then you get a nice clean mullion going across. So the Kernel Wall, it's kind of annoying because you can't just draw it like you would, let's say like SketchUp, where everything's just a perfect extrusion and you can just copy them over. Everything has kind of like an order to it, but you can fully adjust every aspect. It's just a matter of knowing what to select and what like changes where. So if you wanted to change a panel, let's say like this one, so let's look at the properties of that. So if you go to edit type, you can see here there's a bunch of like material glass here. So if we duplicate this, we can call it glass. Maybe we'll put an S for spandrel, and then you can go through all the settings. And notice here you could even add more information. So like if you knew the manufacturer, or you wanted to put a URL to their website where they could order it, or more information about it, or all the different sort of performance information, visual heat gain, the light transmittance, then it can actually use those to factor stuff in. So here under finish, there are none, so we can put a finish if you want. Under the material, you could do glass clear. Let's see what other stuff you got. But we could make one that looks like, oh, here's a cool one, like a wood. So let's say you want like a wood panel in there. You hit OK, and now you have like wood. So if you wanted to like put like a wood door in there, you could copy this door, and instead of having glass, you can make a version of a wood door, and then we can put like a transom on top. So here, instead of glaze system, we can make that where is it? Here. And then this one, so I'm gonna match that one to this one. And then the door, let's see if we make another one. Wood. And then the wood one, you change the material. Oops. Man, my mouse is jumping all over.
I just did it accidentally on 3D view, so I cannot seem to select it on the.
You have to go to a reflected ceiling plane.